We are live, sir.
Session.
எனக்கு சவுண்ட் கேட்க மாட்டேங்குது. உங்களுக்கு கேக்குதா?
Session is over to you, sir. Kalyani madam. Your mic is mute, sir. Kumar.
Yes, sir. It's on.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Al Kalyani, working as an assistant professor in Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy. On behalf of Sri Vishnu Educational Society Management, Chairman Dr. K.V. Vishnuraj Garu, Vice Chairman Dr. Ravichandran Rajgopal Garu, Dr. Kumar B.S. Nemmani Garu, Director Sir, Principal Dr. K.S. Nataraj Garu, and from all the staff of SVCP. I welcome all the dignitaries, delegates for the Day 2 AICTE sponsored online short-term training program. We especially thank and welcome the panelists who readily agreed to deliver a talk in this STTP. Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy was established in 1997 by late Padma Bhushan Dr. B.V. Raju Garu, founder chairman, to provide quality education. Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy, Bhimavaram, has been imparting knowledge and skills among pharmacy graduates to cater the needs of the pharmaceutical industry in both R&D and manufacturing. It was the first private pharmacy college affiliated to Andhra University, Visakhapatnam in India. SVCP was the first pharmacy college in Andhra Pradesh accredited by NAAC, and our BPharm program is NBA accredited. The institution currently offers BPharm, PharmD, MPharm program with 6 specializations and also offers PhD courses. At SVCP, we constantly strive to keep abreast of the advanced knowledge and skills for all the students and faculty. In this context, at SVCP, Department of Pharmaceutics and Regulatory Affairs, organizing an AICTE-sponsored short-term training program for faculty of Pharma Fraternity on the theme of Advances in Pharmaceutical Formulations and Regulatory Pathways globally for small molecules, medical devices, and biologics from February 22nd to 27th in 2021. Now, I request our Director, Sir, Dr. Kumar B.S. Nemmani, Sir, to deliver a keynote address to the beloved participants along with a welcome note.
Yeah, very good morning to each one of you. It's indeed pleasure to invite each one of you on behalf of the management and staff of Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy. As today's talk, as you all know, is presented by Sri Vinay Kumar Gupta and is a CDSCO, Assistant Drugs Controller, and sir is having a wide experience and is representing our DCGI and is on inspections on various parts of the country, and sir has opportunity to visit various regulatory authorities, mainly UK, US, and Malaysia. And it's indeed our pleasure to invite sir to give a talk today. Sir's topic was regulatory purpose for development of biologicals. As you all know, now India is number one in generics after US, and now it's venturing into biological development. And many biosimilars have been developed in India. India is doing a great job, and especially government is doing the guidance pretty much clear to make this process so smooth for industry. And many companies are successful in developing biosimilars as well. Indeed, a day is looking forward for a biological development from Indian organization. I'm sure the today's speaker enlightening all of us, and in future we expect good researchers coming from various parts of the country and do develop innovative novel biologics for betterment of the healthcare around the world. So with this note, I request Vinay Kumar Gupta to take over the session and enlighten all the audience. Sir, session is over to you. Bapiraju,
సార్ డిస్కనెక్ట్ అయినట్టున్నారు సార్.
going to play the video meanwhile.
ఎస్ సార్, ఎస్ సార్. Dear participants, we have small network issue with the speaker. So within few minutes, our speaker will be joining with us. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. Now we can see
Good
you.
morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was disconnected. Now it's 10-minute delay from my side. So extremely sorry for that. So is this
Yeah, no.
visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. It's visual. Voice is also clear. You can start.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me today as a speaker, sir. I would like to thanks the Vishnu College of Pharmacy Managing Director, Chairperson, Directors, Principal, and everyone. And also thanks for listeners, those who are waiting for me from last 10 minutes and I was struggling here to join with the good Wi-Fi. Finally, I got the managing director room. I occupied right now for 1 hour with their wish and grace. So thank you. My topic is regulatory pathways for development of biologicals as you decided. So the views expressed in this presentation are my own
Sir,
and
could
I
you
have
please
no
join the
financial
presentation
interest to
mode?
disclose. The outline of presentation will be definitions, including new drugs, brief outline for development of biologicals, vaccines, recombinant DNA products, etc., some relevant forms, clinical trial for biologicals with respect to how clinical trials are going on. Recently, the India has developed 2 new vaccines that is under
Sir, excuse
Sir,
me.
whole
Sir,
of
go
world.
into
It's
slide mode.
hello.
Slide state. Slide show.
Hello. Now it's okay.
Sir, your presentation, sir, if it could be in presentation mode, it could be more visible, sir.
I have shared, sir.
Yes, sir.
I
Just
already
go for
shared.
slide presentation, sir. Slide share.
Share screen, then share. Is this visible?
Yes, sir. Sir, down we have one symbol, no, sir. Side by 70%. Yes, sir.
Is this
Yes, sir. That could
now
be
okay?
better visible.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, what are the biologicals and how India has developed these biologicals? Approx 23 vaccine manufacturers in India, out of which 8 are WHO pre-qualified for supplying to the UNICEF, United Nations. More than 60% of the total world vaccines are manufactured in India and exported to around 150 countries globally. Around 5 blood manufacturers are in India, blood product manufacturers situated in India. So, what are the biologicals? Vaccine is a biological preparation that improves immunity to a particular disease. Vaccine typically contains an agent that mimics disease causing microorganisms. Vaccine made from weakened or killed forms of the microbe. Its toxins are one of its surface proteins. The agent stimulates the body's immune system to recognize the agent as foreign, destroy it, and keep a record of it so that immune system can more easily recognize and destroy any of these microorganisms that it later uses multidisciplinary research and generation of adequate laboratory, non-clinical, clinical data to ensure their safety, efficacy, and quality. India is one of the biggest producer of vaccines in the world, which cater the requirements of many vaccines globally. So, some definitions of new drugs according to Drug and Cosmetic Act: a drug including active pharmaceutical ingredient or phytopharmaceutical drug which has not been used in the country to any significant extent except in accordance with the provisions of the Act and the rules made thereunder as per conditions specified in the labeling thereof, and has not been approved as safe and efficacious by the Central License Approving Authority, means Office of DCGI, with respect to its claims, are a drug approved by the Central Licensing Authority for certain claims and proposed to be marketed with modified or new claims, including indication, route of administration, dosage, and dosage forms, or a fixed dose combination of two or more drugs approved separately for certain claims and proposed to be for the first time in a fixed ratio, or where the ratio of ingredients in an approved combination is proposed to be changed with certain claims, including indication, route of administration, dosage, and dosage forms, or a modified or sustained release form of a drug or novel drug delivery system of any drug approved by the Central Licensing Authority, or a vaccine, recombinant DNA derived product, living modified organisms, monoclonal antibody, stem cell derived products, gene therapeutic product, or xenografts intended to be used as a drug. But there are some explanations with respect to serial number 4 and 5 always be deemed to be new drugs because vaccines, recombinant DNA products, blood products, they are always new drugs. While serial number 1 to 3 shall continue to be new drugs for a period of 4 years from the date of their permission granted by the CLA. So after 4 years, the drugs mentioned from 1 to 3 are becomes old drugs and the state licensing authorities are giving the permissions. So what are the orphan drug means? Orphan drug means a drug intended to treat a rare disease a condition which affects not more than 5 lakh persons in India. This is the first time the new clinical trial rules has been incorporated with the definition of orphan drugs. So some other definitions like active pharmaceutical ingredients API means any substance which can be used in a pharmaceutical formulation with the intention to provide pharmacological activity or to otherwise have direct effect in the diagnosis, cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, or to have direct effect in restoring, correcting, or modifying physiological functions in a human being or animals. What are clinical trials, CT, in relation to a new drug or investigational new drug? Means any systematic study of such new drug or investigational new drug in human subjects to generate data for discovering or verifying its clinical or pharmacological, including pharmacodynamics, pharmacokinetics, or adverse effects with the objective of determining the safety, efficacy, or tolerance of such new drug or investigational new drug. So before doing clinical trials, you have to prepare a set of documents known as clinical trial protocol. Means a document containing the background, objective, rationale, design, methodology, including matters concerning performance, management conduct, analysis, adverse event, withdrawal, statistical consideration, and record keeping pertaining to clinical trial. The protocol also contains who is the sponsor, who is the principal investigator, who is the ethics committee members, and all the details. What is the clinical trial site? The clinical trial site means any hospital or institute or any other clinical establishment having the required facilities to conduct a clinical trial. Efficacy in relation to a drug means its ability to achieve the desired effect in a controlled clinical setting. Effectiveness in relation to a drug means its ability to achieve the desired effect in a real world clinical situation after approval of the drug. So ethics committee again means for the purpose of clinical trial, ethics committee constituted under Rule 7 and registered under Rule 8. Biomedical and health research, ethics committee constituted under Rule 16 and registered under Rule 17. So what are the GCP guidelines, good clinical practices guidelines? Means the good clinical practices for conduct of clinical studies in India formulated by CDSCO, Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, and global clinical trials means any clinical trial which is conducted as part of a clinical development of a drug in more than one country. If the trial is being conducted here in India and outside India simultaneously, GCP, global clinical trials. Investigational new drugs, IND, means a new chemical or biological entity or substance that has not been approved for marketing as a drug in any country. Investigational product means the pharmaceutical formulation of an active ingredient or placebo being tested or used in a clinical trial. So, what is the new chemical entity? Means any substance that has not been approved for marketing as a drug by a drug regulatory authority of any country, including the authorities specified under these rules, and is proposed to be developed as a new drug for the first time by stabilizing its safety and efficacy. Who will be the investigator? Means a person who is responsible for conducting clinical trial at the clinical trial site is the investigator. There may be principal investigator, co-investigator, and some CRCs, clinical research coordinators. What are the medical management? Means treatment and other necessary activities for providing the medical care to complement the treatment. Pharmaceutical formulations. Any preparation for human or veterinary use containing one or more active pharmaceutical ingredients with or without pharmaceutical excipients or additives that is formulated to produce a specific physical form such as tablet, capsule, or solution suitable for administration to human or animals. Since clinical trial came, then its pharmacovigilance again come, means the science and activities relating to detection, assessment, undertaking, and prevention of adverse effects or any other drug related problem. Phytopharmaceutical drug means a drug of purified and standardized fraction assessed quantitatively and quantitatively with defined minimum for bioactive or phytochemical compounds of an extract of a medicinal plant or its part for internal or external use on human beings or animals for diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any disease or disorder, but does not include drug administered through parenteral route. Post trial assess. After involvement in the clinical trial, the subject, the participant has to be a post trial assess, like making a new drug or investigational new drug available to a trial subject after completion of clinical trial through which the said drug has been found beneficial to a trial subject during clinical trial for such period as considered necessary by the investigator and the ethics committee. Means during trial, if anything goes wrong, the subject has the right to take the post care treatments. SA is serious adverse event, means an untoward medical occurrence during clinical trial resulting in death or permanent disability or hospitalization of the trial subject, where the trial subject is an outdoor patient or a healthy person. Prolongation of hospitalization, where the trial subject is an indoor patient, IPD, persistent or significant disability or incapacity in congenital abnormality, birth defect, life threatening events. These are the SAE said serious adverse events. Then who is the sponsor? A person, a company, a hospital, or an institute, or an organization responsible for initiation and management of a clinical trial will be the sponsor. Who will the academic clinical trials? Academic clinical trials generally carried out in the medical colleges, pharmacy colleges, and other places where the students are involved, like a clinical trial of a drug already approved for a certain claim and initiated by any investigator, academic, or research institute for a new indication or new route of administration or new dose or new dosage form, where the results of such a trial are intended to be used only for academic or research purposes and not for seeking approval of the central licensing authority or regulatory authority of any country for marketing or commercial purposes. Means the data shall not be submitted to the licensing authorities for permission for market authorization. We discussed about SAE, serious adverse events. Now we have to discuss about the age adverse events. Like nowadays, you people are hearing that the vaccine is giving some age serious adverse events like pain at the site of injection, temperature. So these are the age. Any untoward medical occurrence, including a symptom or disease or an abnormal laboratory finding during treatment with an investigational drug or a pharmaceutical product in a patient or a trial subject that does not necessarily have a relationship with the treatment being given. So, bioavailability and bioequivalence study centers means a center created or established to undertake for either clinical part or for both clinical and analytical part of such study is known as bioavailability and bioequivalence study center. India is having vast bioavailability bioequivalence study centers, around 15, 16 are in Gujarat, more than 10 are in South India. Trial subjects, who will be the trial subject? A person who is either a patient or a healthy person. One second. Trial subject means a person who is either a patient or a healthy person to whom investigational product is administered for the purpose of a clinical trial. So now, till now, these are the definitions related with the new drugs and clinical trials and development of biologicals. Now, how the procedures, how the products are being approved in the system. So, depending upon the nature of the product, the isolation of cell bank strains are imported or manufactured in India. Likewise, in India, the recent vaccine was developed by Bharat Biotech Limited. The strain was provided by the IVRI, NIV Pune, NIV Pune, and the material has been tested in the laboratory. Now, the application to get permission for CDSCO to manufacture test batches in clinical trial for CT10, CT11, and before that there is a system of joint inspection by State Licensing Authority, Central License Approving Authority, and the experts from CDL. Application to get license from State Licensing Authority to manufacture test batches in Form 30, Form 29. Likewise, for recombinant, there is the IBSC recommendations for research and development initiation to RCGM. RCGM approval to initiate R&D activities, then NOC to conduct PCT from RCGM, and 3 consecutive test batches submission to CDL Kasoli for consistency. After consistency test, the CDL approved for batch consistency for clinical trial. Application through SUGAM to obtain permission for CDSCO for clinical trial, phase 1, 2, 3. As the case, there is a timeline also within 90 days. The application has to be disposed of. Then before disposal, the permissions and the applications again scrutinized at the SEC subject expert committee, technical committee, and then up to the apex committee, which is situated at New Delhi. The CT permission from CDSCO in CT06 for phase 1, phase 2 or phase 3 trials. Application in market for market authorization in CT18 for import, CT21 for manufacture in CTD formats. The CTD format, common technical dossiers, having 5 modules. Module 1, administrative information. Module 2, overall quality summary. Module 3, CMC. Module 4, non-clinical, and Module 5, clinical. The research and development organizations mainly covering the module 4, and the different modules are being analyzed at our headquarters CDSCO and some parts at CDL Kasoli. After that, there is a permission in form of CT19 for drug substance. Likewise, APIs, the biological saving system of drug substance, and drug product, likewise finished products in the remaining parts. The biologicals have drug product CT20 to import for sale, distribution, and market authorization in CT22 for drug substance, CT23 for drug product to manufacture for sale, distribution. Then after, the manufacturer has to approach along with their application in Form 27T for grant of manufacturing license to State Licensing Authority and copy to the Central License Approving Authority, zonal, subzonal offices also involved during the inspections. Sorry. So there is a system of joint inspection by Central License Approving Authority representatives and Licensing Authority representatives, along with representatives from the Central Drug Laboratory. There will be some observations or deficiencies, and after satisfactory compliance of that, the manufacturing license in Form 28D shall be issued by the state respective state licensing authority and forwarded to the Central License Authority for endorsement. What are the data to be submitted for new drugs? For biologicals, chemical and pharmaceutical information, animal pharmacology data, animal toxicology data, human clinical pharmacology data. Detail may be obtained from second schedule of new drugs and clinical trials. The vast details are there, around 10 pages. So what are the different phases of clinical trial? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 we have learned. But here is the some detailed definitions about the phase 1, what we are doing in phase 1, what we are doing in phase 3 and 4. So phase 1, it is the estimation of safety and tolerability with the initial administration of an investigational new product into humans. These studies usually have non-therapeutic objectives and may be conducted in healthy subjects or certain types of patients. Drugs with significant potential toxicity, example cytotoxic drugs, are usually studied in patients only, not on the healthy volunteers. Phase 1 trial should preferably be carried out by investigators trained in clinical pharmacology with access to the necessary facilities to closely observe and monitor the subjects like ICU. ICU is mandatory in phase 1 trials. So, what is the conclusion of phase 1 trial? Maximum tolerated dose. These studies include both single and multiple dose administration, pharmacokinetic strategy, sorry, characterization of a drug's absorption, distribution, metabolism, and excretion. Pharmacodynamics. Data obtained from patients may guide the dosage and dose regimen to be applied in later studies, that is phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 onwards. Early measurement of drug activity. Preliminary studies of activity or potential therapeutic benefit may be conducted in phase 1 as a secondary objective. Then phase 2, the primary objective to evaluate the effectiveness of a drug for a particular indication or indications in a patient with the condition under study and to determine the common short-term side effects and risks associated with the drug. Phase 2 should be conducted in a group of patients who are selected by relatively narrow criteria leading to a relatively homogeneous population. These studies should be closely monitored. An important goal for this phase is to determine the dose and regimen for phase 3 trials. Means for phase 3 trials, the phase 2 is the basis. Doses used in phase 2 are usually, but not always, less than the highest dosage used in phase 1. So phase 1 is for safety, phase 2, as written here, the additional objectives of phase 2, evaluation of potential study endpoints, therapeutic regimens, including concomitant medications and target populations, for example, mild versus severe diseases. For further studies in phase 2 or phase 3, these objectives may be served by exploratory analysis, examining subsets of data and by including multiple endpoints in trials. Then phase 3, primary objective of determination or confirmation of therapeutic benefits studied in phase 3 are designed to confirm the preliminary evidence accumulated in phase 2 that a drug is safe and effective for use in the intended indication and recipient population. These studies should be intended to provide an adequate basis for marketing approval. Studies in phase 3 may also further explore the dose response relationship among dose, drug concentration in blood, and clinical response. Use of the drug in wider populations in different stages of disease are the safety and efficacy of drug in combination with other drugs. Generally, you people have seen the leaflets along with the vaccines, along with the some products which is in market. The leaflets are generally depends the details of the leaflets, what is written in leaflets, generally depends upon the studies carried out in phase 3. For drugs intended to be administered for long periods, trials involving extended exposure to the drug are ordinarily conducted in phase 3, although they may be initiated in phase 2. These studies carried out in phase 3 complete the information needed to support adequate instructions for use of the drug, that is the prescribing information. For new drugs approved outside India, phase 3 studies may need to be carried out if scientifically and ethically justified. Prior to conduct of phase 3 studies in Indian subjects, Central License Authority may require pharmacokinetic studies to be undertaken to verify that the data generated in Indian population is in conformity with the data already generated abroad, means outside India. in case of an application of a new drug already approved and marketed in other country where local clinical trial in India is waived off or not found scientifically justified for its approval for manufacturing first time in the country, the bioequivalence studies of such drug as appropriate is required to be carried out and test batches manufactured for the purpose shall be inspected before its approval. Means a drug, a biological, a vaccine which is already approved in other country, if the manufacturer want to market in India, they have to justify the data with the licensing authority in the form of phase 3 trial only or maybe from phase 1 to 3 depending upon the situation in case to case basis. However, in case of emergencies, the requirement of these data may be waived off. Phase 4, that is post marketing trials. Post marketing, as the name it suggests, after the marketing trials to be carried out. These phase 4 studies performed after the approval of such drug and related to the approved indication. Such trials go beyond the prior demonstration of the drug safety, efficacy, and dose definition. Such trial might not have been considered essential at the time of new drug approval due to various reasons, such as limitation in terms of patient exposure, duration of treatment during clinical development of the drug, need for early introduction of the new drug in interest of patients, likewise in the pandemic situation, etc. Phase 4 trials include additional drug-drug interaction, dose response or safety studies, and trials designed to support use under the approved indication. For example, mortality or morbidity studies, epidemiological studies, etc. There are studies in some special populations like information supporting the use of the drug in children, pregnant women, nursing women, elderly patients, patients with renal or other organ system failures, and those on specific concomitant medication is required to be submitted if relevant to the clinical profile of the drug and its anticipated usage pattern is required. Sorry. Few relevant forms like what are the forms, what are the fees, and what are the requirements for clinical trials like Form CT04, the purpose application for grant of permission to conduct clinical trial of new drug or IND for phase 1, a rupees of 3 lakh for phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, 2 lakh rupees fees for each stage. CT10, application for grant of permission to manufacture new drug or IND for clinical trial or bioavailability or bioequivalence study or for examination, test and analysis, 5,000 per product. CT21, application for grant of permission to manufacture new drug formulation for sale or for distribution, around 5 lakh for drug substance and separately for drug product. However, the fees, no fees shall be chargeable in respect of application for conduct of clinical trial for orphan drugs, for conduct of clinical trial from government organizations, in case of application received from micro, small, medium enterprises, MSME, firms for conduct of clinical trial, approval of new drug, and pre and post submission meeting, the fee payable shall be half. So how the applications are being scrutinized at our office. Application comes to CDSCO headquarter. Now there is a system of Sugam, that is online system. No need to come our office. You have to carry out every and each activity from your office only. Means to submit the applications online, then examination by the respective division, detailed review by investigational new drug committee or subject expert committee, then recommendation to the DCGI, and after that, if everything found okay, there will be the approval. What are the different agencies involved in the biologicals and other new drug regulatory systems? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, DGHS under us. We are the Central Drug Standard Control Organizations. Ministry of Science and Technology, that is the ICMR, BARC, CSIR. Ministry of Chemical and Petrochemicals, NPPA, DCP, Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Patent Office, Department of Commerce and Pharmaxil, DGFT, Controller General of Patent, Ministry of Environment and Forest, GEAC, Department of Biotechnology, RDNA Advisory Committee, Review Committee for Genetic Manipulation. Then the regulatory apex committees and their functions, CDSCO, laying down standard, clearance of new drug, central license, approving authority items, banning of drugs, clinical trials, regulation of import, and all biologicals, large volume parentals, etc. etc. ICMR to promote biomedical research and ethical principles. GEAC established in 1989, and the functions manufacture, use, import of hazardous microorganisms, genetically engineered organisms or cells. DBT, Department of Biotechnology, came in existence in 1986. It promote transgenic research, molecular biology of human genetic disorders, brain research, and commercialization of diagnostic kits and vaccines for communicable diseases. AERB, Atomic Energy Review Board, came in existence in 1983, promotes radiotherapy and research, safety review for gamma irradiated devices, etc. BARC promotes isotopes application in medicine and also monitoring usage of radioactive materials. That is Bhadbha Atomic Research Center. DTAB, Drug Technical Advisory Board, in 1950 to advise central and state government on technical matters arising out of the drugs and cosmetics. RCGM, Review Committee on Genetic Manipulation, no objection certificate for clinical trials and also RDNA strengths. DCC, as you already know, Drugs Consultative Committee, 1951, Advisory Committee to DTAB and Chemical and Central and State Government for uniform implementation of various provisions of the Act. FSSI, Food Safety Standard Authority of India to maintain quality and safety of food and food products. DAH, and F, Department of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries, 1991, responsible for matters relating to livestock production, preservation, protection from disease, and improvement of stocks and dairy development. So, what are the responsibilities of sponsor? What is the responsibility of investigator, ethics committee, and regulator? The sponsor is responsible for implementing and maintaining quality assurance systems to ensure that the clinical trial is conducted and data generated, documented, and reported in compliance with the protocol and GCP guidelines, good clinical practices guidelines, as well as with all applicable statutory provisions. SOPs should be documented to ensure compliance with GCP guidelines and applicable regulations. Sponsors are required to submit a status report on the clinical trial to the Central License Authority at the prescribed periodicity. In case of studies prematurely discontinued,
ऑफिसर को कुछ बोलने का नहीं है अभी
उन्होंने अभी इस मंथ के एंड तक बोला है ना
in case of studies prematurely discontinued for any reason, including lack of commercial interest in pursuing the new drug application, a summary report should be submitted within 3 months. The summary report should provide a brief description of the study, the number of patients exposed to the drug, dose and duration of exposure, details of adverse drug reaction, if any, and the reason for discontinuation of the study or non-pursuance of the new drug application. Any SAE, after due analysis, shall be forwarded by the sponsor to the Central License Authority, chairperson of the Ethics Committee, and the head of the institution within the trial, where the trial has been conducted within 14 days of the occurrence. In case of injury or death occurring to the trial subject, the sponsor, where a pharmaceutical company or an institute, or his representative, or the investigator, or the institution or center where the study was conducted, as the case may be, shall make payment for the medical management of the subject and also provide financial compensation for the clinical trial related injury or death in accordance with the procedures as prescribed in chapter 6 of these rules, that is the compensations. Means the sponsor is liable to paid compensation if the clinical trial subject has gone any undue results. The sponsor, where a pharmaceutical company or an institute or his representative, whosoever had obtained permission from the Central Licensing Authority for conduct of the clinical trial, shall submit details of compensation provided or paid for clinical trial related injury or death to the CLA within 30 days of the receipt of the order of the CLA. The sponsor shall provide post-trial access of the investigational drug by giving the drug free of cost to the trial subject as per directions of the CLA in special circumstances on the recommendations of the investigator and the ethics committee and written consent of the patient in accordance with Rule 27 of New Drug and Clinical Trial Rules. What is the responsibility of investigator? The investigator shall be responsible for conduct of the trial according to the protocol and the GCP guidelines and also for compliance as per the undertaking given. Standard operating procedures are required to be documented by the investigators and for tasks performed by them. During and following a subject participation in trial, the investigator should ensure that adequate medical care is provided to the participant for any adverse event. Investigator shall report all serious adverse events to the licensing authority. The sponsor or his representative, whosoever had obtained permission from the CLA for conduct of the clinical trial, and the ethics committee shall accord approval to the study protocol within 24 hours of the occurrence. In case the investigator fails to report any serious adverse event within the stipulated period, he shall have to furnish the reason for the delay in the satisfaction to the CLA along with report of the SAE. The report of the SAE after due analysis shall be forwarded by the investigator to the CLA, the chairperson of the ethics committee, and the head of the institution where the trial has been conducted within 14 days of the occurrence of that SAE. The investigator shall provide ICF, informed consent process, about the essential elements of the clinical trial and the subject's rights to claim compensation in case of trial related injury or death. He shall also inform the subject, his or her nominee, of their rights to contact the sponsor or his representative, whosoever had obtained permission from the Central Licensing Authority for conduct of the clinical trial for the purposes of making claims in the case of trial related injury or death. In all trials, a freely given informed consent. So what is the informed consent? Why it's required? In all trials, a freely given informed written consent form is required from the study subjects. The investigator must provide information about the study verbally as well as patient information sheet in a language understandable by the subject. The subject's consent must be obtained in writing using and ICF. Both the patient information sheet as well as the ICF should have been approved by the ethics committee and furnished to the central licensing authority. Where a subject is not able to give informed consent, for example, an unconscious person or a minor, as those suffering from severe mental illness or disability, the same may be obtained from a legally acceptable representative. A legally acceptable representative is a person who is able to give consent for or authorize an intervention in the patient as provided by the law of India. If the trial subject or his or legally acceptable representative is unable to read or write, an impartial witness should be present during the entire informed consent process, who must append his or her signature to the consent form. In case of clinical trial on periodic, the subject are legally unable to provide written informed consent. Likewise, in small babies, how they know their rights, and the dependent on their parent or legal guardian to assume responsibility for their participation in clinical studies. In such case, written informed consent should be obtained from the parent or legal guardian. However, all pediatric participants should be informed to the fullest extent possible about the study in a language and in terms that they are able to understand. Where appropriate, pediatric participants should additionally assist to the enroll in the study. Mature minors and adolescents should personally sign and date a separate designed written assent form. Although a participant's wish to withdraw from a study must be respected, there may be there may be circumstances in therapeutic studies for serious or life-threatening diseases in which, in the opinion of the investigator and parent or legal guardian, the welfare of the pediatric patient would be jeopardized by his or her failing to participate in the study. In this situation, continued parental or legal guardian consent should be sufficient to allow participation in the study. An audio video recording of the ICF in case of vulnerable subjects in clinical trial of new chemical entity, new molecular entity to the subject and his understanding on such consent shall be maintained by the investigator for record, provided that in case of clinical trial of anti-HIV and anti-leprosy drugs, only audio recording of the ICF of subject, including the procedure of providing information to the subject and his understanding on such consent, shall be maintained by the PI. Means the subject should not be allowed to disclose his identity. There are some procedures for registration of ethics committee through Sugam portal. Step 1, Sugam account sign up process. Just like this is what we have made Google form, or we have made this Gmail account like that. Document verification by the IT Sugam and activation of Sugam account. Then application submission via checklist for the same and uploading of the required documents. Application received to nodal office and then application assigned to the review officer. Application reviewed as per new drugs and clinical trial rules 2019 and forwarded to the nodal officer. Nodal officer will mark comments and forward to the deputy decision authority and licensing authority, whichever is applicable. And there is yes time duration within 45 working days. The application has to be disposed of. Now there is a system of e-chat in present near the file number and activate to the Sugam additional document if needed. The checklist, name of the ethics committee, authority under which the ethics committee has been constituted, membership requirements, the term of reference, condition of appointment, and the quorum required, the procedures for registration, replacement, or removal of the members, address of the office of the ethics committee, name, address, qualification, organization, title, telephone number, fax number, email, mailing address, and brief profile of the chairperson, name, qualification of the each members, details of the supporting staff, the standard operating procedures, SOPs to be followed by the committee for vulnerable population, policy regarding training for new and existing committee members along with the standard operating procedures, policy to monitor or prevent the conflict of interest along with SOPs, then format for recording approval to CT protocol by the ethics committee to Dr. Dear, the institutional ethics committee or independent ethics committee. Name of the committee, reviewed, discussed your application to the conduct of CT entitled this on this. The following documents were reviewed, trial protocol, patient information sheet, informed consent form, both in English and vernacular language, investigator's brochure, version, proposed methods for patient accrual, including advertisement, etc. Principal investigators, current curriculum vitae, insurance policy, investigators agreement with the sponsor, investigators undertaking. The EC has been informed about the progress of the study, any SAE occurring. These are the things. So what are the functions of ethics committee? We discussed about the functions of a sponsor. We discussed about the functions of PI. Now what are the responsibility of the ethics committee? Review and accord approval to the clinical trial, BAB study protocol, monitoring and internal audit reports furnished by the sponsor or by visiting the study sites, indicate the reasons that weighed with it while rejecting or asking for a change or notification in the protocol in writing, and a copy of such reasons shall also be made available to the central licensing authority. where any serious adverse event occurs to a trial subject or to a study subject during clinical trial or BABE study. The ethics committee shall analyze the relevant documents pertaining to such event and forward its report to the CLA and company with the provisions of chapter 6, that is the compensation. India is having very good documentation on compensation, and we are providing the SLA, the CLA providing lot of compensations based upon the documents submitted, where at any stage of clinical trial it comes to a conclusion that the trial is likely to compromise the right, safety, or well-being of the trial subject, the ethics committee may order discontinuation or suspension of the clinical trial, and same shall be intimated to the head of the institution conducting the clinical trial in the CLA. Quorum of the ethics committee. No clinical trial or BAB protocol and related documents shall be reviewed by an ethics committee unless at least 5 of its members as desired below are present, namely medical scientist, preferably a pharmacologist, clinician, legal expert, social scientist, a representative of non-governmental voluntary agency, or philosopher or ethicist, or theologian, or a similar person, and one lay person. The ethics committee may constitute one or more subcommittees of its members to assist in the functions assigned to it. The ethics committee may associate such experts who are not its members in its deliberations, but such experts shall not have voting rights, if any. Like in HIV cases, any change in the membership or the constitution of the registered ethics committee shall be intimated in writing to the CLA within 30 working days. Validity of ethics committee. This is for a period of 5 years, and there are some requirements. Suspension calculations can also be carried out, and in case of anything, the ethics committee has a right to appeal to the central government within a period of 60 working days. Maintenance of records by the ethics committee. What are the records they have to be maintained? They shall maintain data, record, registers, and other documents for the period of 5 years after completion of such clinical trial. The ethics committee shall maintain the following records for a period of 5 years, like constitution and composition of the ethics committee, the CVs of the all members of the ethics committee, SOPs followed by the ethics committee, national and international guidelines followed by the ethics committee, copies of the protocol, data collection formats, case report forms, investigators brochures, etc. submitted for the review, all correspondence with committee members and investigators regarding application, decision, and follow-up, agenda of all ethics committee meetings and minutes of all ethics committee meetings with signature of the chairperson, copies of decision communicated to the applicants, records relating to any other issue for premature termination of study with a summary of the reasons thereof, final report of the study including microfilms, compact disc, or video recording, recommendation given by the ethics committee for determination of the compensation, records relating to the serious adverse event, medical management of trial subject, and compensation paid. There are some conditions written here for conduct of clinical trial. The clinical trial at any site shall be initiated after approval of the clinical trial protocol and other documents by the registered ethics committee or institutional ethics committee, independent ethics committee. In case an ethics committee of clinical trial site rejects the protocol, the details of same shall be submitted to the central license approving authority prior to seeking approval of another ethics committee for conduct of CT in case of same site. At the same site, the clinical trial shall be registered with CTRI, Clinical Trial Registry of India, which is maintained by ICMR before enrolling the first subject of the trial. Clinical trial shall be conducted in accordance with the approved clinical trial protocol and other related documents and as per requirements of GCP guidelines and the provisions of these rules. Status of enrollment of the trial subjects shall be submitted to the CLA on quarterly basis or as appropriate. If the trial is being conducted within 1 month, then depending upon the situation. 6 monthly status report of each clinical trial as to whether it is ongoing, completed, or terminated shall be submitted to the Central License Approving Authority electronically in the SUGAM portal. In case of termination of any clinical trial, the detailed reason for such termination shall be communicated to the CLA within 30 working days of such termination. Any report of SAE occurring during CT to a subject of clinical trial shall, after due analysis, be forwarded to the CLA, the chairperson of the ethics committee, and the institute where the trial has been conducted within 14 days of its occurrence. In case of injury during clinical trial to trial subject, complete medical management and compensation shall be provided. Details of compensation shall be intimated to Central Licensing Authority within 30 working days of the receipt of order issued by the CLA. In case of in case of clinical trial related death or permanent disability of any subject of such trial, compensation shall be provided in accordance with Chapter 6, and details of compensation provided shall be intimated to the CLA. Site must be ready for inspection at all time. Whether the new drug or IND is found to be useful in clinical development, the sponsor shall submit an application to the CLA for permission to import or manufacture or sell or for distribution of new drug in India in accordance with Chapter 10 of these rules, unless otherwise justified. The Central Licensing Authority may, if considered necessary, impose any other condition in respect of specific clinical trials regarding the objective, design, subject population, subject eligibility, assessment, conduct, and treatment of such specific clinical trial. The sponsor and the investigator shall maintain the data integrity of the data generated during clinical trial. Academic clinical trials, likewise in the colleges, no permission for conducting an academic clinical trial shall be required for any drug from the Central Licensing Authority where the clinical trial in respect of the permitted drug formulation is solely for academic research purposes. For a new indication or new route of administration or new dose or new dosage form, and the clinical trial referred to in clause 1 means above 1 has been initiated after prior approval by the ethics committee, and the observations generated from such clinical trial are not required to be submitted to the Central Licensing Authority, and the observations of such clinical trials are not used for promotional purposes also. Means these studies should not be elaborated in the form of promotional purposes. The academic clinical trial shall be conducted in accordance with the approved protocol, ethical principle specified by National Ethical Guidelines for Biomedical Health Research involving human participants, notified by the ICMR with a view to ensuring protection of rights, safety, and well-being of trial subject during conduct of clinical trial of licensed and approved drugs or drug formulation for academic research purposes. Clinical trial in present situation during COVID-19. This was the slide I made. Clinical trial of new drug is regulated under New Drug and Trial Rules 2019. Clinical trial is required to be conducted in accordance with the approved clinical trial protocol and other related documents like GCT practice guidelines. In present situation, CDSCO understand that various challenges may arise during conduct of clinical trial in the wake of outbreak of COVID-19. This may lead to difficulties to maintain complete adherence to the approved protocol, regulatory provisions, procedures, and applicable guidelines in respect of various activities involved in conduct of CT, including recruitment of trial subjects, laboratory testing, diagnosis, administration of investigational product, reporting of SAH, scheduled visits, assessment of safety and efficacy parameters. In such impact on clinical trial will vary depending on nature of trial, disease condition, locality, region where the trial site is located, government restrictions, including that of local administration. In this regard, it is reiterated that protection of right, safety and well-being of trial subject is of paramount importance. And in case of ongoing clinical trial, the sponsor in coordination with the investigator in the respective ethics committee to decide whether they continue the trial or otherwise interest of trial subject. In some cases, however, protocol amendment, deviation, modification in procedures may be necessary due to unavoidable circumstances. But the things should be written down in the form of deviations, whatever carried out. The sponsor should assess such impact and take appropriate decision wherever necessary in consultation with the investigator and the ethics committee to ensure again the right safety and some orders are here, consistency and these things. And in case a person intends to manufacture and stock a vaccine for COVID-19, which is under clinical trial for marketing authorization for sale or distribution, then such person shall have to obtain permission from CLA. So we have a system of PRO, public relation officer in our CDSCO. PRO at CDSCO is a dedicated office with objective to acting as a single window for disposal of grievances of stakeholders on regulatory issues, provide information to the innovators, startups, regarding regulatory norms. I think in this group, lot of startups and innovators are listening my voice. So this is for them. Guide, assist, handhold investors in various phases of business life cycle as per existing focus on Invest India, Make in India, provide clarifications pertaining to Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and rules made thereunder. The location, it's behind the reception, ground floor, CDSU headquarter, FD Bhavan, Kotla Road, New Delhi. Email ID you can write down startup innovation STARTUPINNOV @cdsco.nic.in. There is toll free number 1800 111 454. Phone number 011-2323-6971 extension 102, again 23216373. Timing 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. List of PRO other than headquarter can be get at this link. I am also a PRO at my office, CDSCO Varanasi. Then what are the opportunities? First time in CDSCO in order to promote innovation and startup businesses in India, a direct video conferencing facility is available. The purpose of this facility is to support, facilitate, guide, and encourage entrepreneurs, researchers, and innovators in the field of pharmaceutical research. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, sir.
This was interrupted during initial phases, and thanks the host here at Varanasi, here at Kanpur, who has given his own office, and everyone is out of office for this presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Madam.
Thank you for
Questions.
excellent presentation, sir. So there are few questions to ask from the participant side.
Yes, madam.
So the question number one is by Dr. Nikunja Kishore Mishra Garu. So for a new drug discovery, generally it takes around 8 to 10 years. But in case of COVID vaccine, it took only 1 year. Can you please let me know your opinion regarding this, sir?
Definitely, this is a nice question, and yes, lot of people are thinking, but that how COVID vaccine came within 1 year in India. This is the situation where whole human fraternity was discussing. It takes around 5 years, 10 years, depending upon the situation. But the COVID virus is not new for us. The vaccines came in India, two vaccines. Both the system of manufacturing, the system of development is very old. Inactivated coronavirus and recombinant virus, a recombinant vaccine, where the gene was modified and a small fragment was introduced, it was verified. And that's why the reason, because it is developed within a short period of 1 year, the ongoing trial and post phase 4 study is going on. Even though this is the situation where emergency came. now again you people are knowing that the pandemic is increasing in India again at Maharashtra and some places. But we think that within 1 year, how it came, the manufacturer and regulator both work very hard like that. The data we are discussed, we are received at CDSCO, we are immediately analyzed by us, even in night also. And if anything was required, same day, same night, there was a mail from CDSCO to the manufacturer that you submit this additional data, and manufacturer again submitted the additional data. So on that basis, everything was carried out on fast track basis. The trial phase 1 data completed, thus they have submitted, analyzed, reviewed, and permission given for phase 2. After phase 2, permission given for phase 3. After phase 3, still it is under trial mode. The vaccination drive which is going on, that's why there is a system of only government agencies should implement this, because we need data. So the data is still being generated. And yes, this is first time in India that within 1 year of a short period the new vaccine came. And many people are not digesting this, because earlier the vaccines came from western world. They invested, they initially carried out test everything, and after 10 years, 5 years, the same product came in India. So this is a different mode where first India came in India and then it's going exported to the other countries. So there is no any safety issue till now. There is no any relation with the serious adverse events. There is age, mild age, but these need to be think that what is the pandemic, what is the situation, and where we are. We should understand the peoples, those who has lost their relatives, the persons died in that family. They are understanding the this pandemic, but those who are not, fortunately they don't have like this, so they are enjoying, but it's not similarly. First, we have to understand that we should come up to a system of taking vaccine without any hesitation, and we should take, madam. What is the second question? Probably you can answer that.
Yeah. Uh, this is student from Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy, sir. This is the question. Is permission required for academic clinical trials, sir?
Permission required from ethics committee only, not from the DCGI office. In case you are not going to submit this data for requirement of any product or any manufacturing license, this is only for the trial for student, and the same data should not be published in any other forum, like to publish to motivate or to other things. They can publish this to the research forums only, not for market authorization or any other document.
Thank you, sir. So does insurance cover the clinical trials, sir?
Which, ma'am?
Insurance cover for the clinical trials?
Insulins. Yes, new insulins. If any, is this insulin?
Insurance.
Insurance. Yes, the sponsor has to take insurance for compensation clauses to maintain their compensation clauses, and it comes in crores rupees for one trial or for number of subjects.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So that's a valuable information, sir. So I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Madhavi, madam, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, madam. Very short of time given to me, and unfortunately, the internet was not stable at one room, which was provided to me. And finally, the grace come, madam, and I thankful to you people for inviting me as a speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Speaker, Shri Vinay Kumar Gupta Garu, respected Director, Dr. Kumar V.S. Nirmani Garu, Principal K.S. Nataraj Garu, and our most valued participants. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I take the opportunity to put my gratitude into words. I, Dr. B. Radhamadhavi, Associate Professor, on behalf of Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy and the entire fraternity of management, take this opportunity to express my gratitude to today's speaker, Sri Vinay Kumar Gupta Garu, for graciously accepting our invitation and delivering an excellent speech. I take this opportunity to thank our chairman, Dr. K.V. Vishnuraj Garu, and our vice chairman, Dr. Ravichandran Rajgopal Garu, and secretary of Sri Vishnu Educational Society, Sri K. Aditya Visam Garu, for inspiring us and giving us an opportunity to organize this event. I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to our beloved director, Dr. Kumar V.S. Nemani Garu, and our principal, Dr. K.S. Natraj Garu, for their constant guidance and support. I would like to express my deep gratitude to the faculty of Sri Vishnu College of Pharmacy for their tremendous help in conducting this webinar session with a wonderful result. I convey my thanks to AICTE for providing financial support for this program. I thank each and every participant for joining us today. We appreciate you being here by sparing your valuable time. Thank you.
At this juncture, I thank all the delegates for your external cooperation and hope you have acquired significant knowledge through this STTP. Stay tuned for the next session at 11:10 a.m. for another valuable talk by Dr. Umesh Gupta Garu from Central University of Rajasthan. Once again, thank you very much, sir, Dr. Sri Vinay Gupta Garu. Signing off for this session. Thank you very much.